Kyle Klingman with Track Wrestling. Can't wait to talk to our guest today. Todd Beckerman is the head wrestling coach at Brown. He was an All-American for Nebraska. But I always start with what I know him best for, and that is the knee pad, volleyball knee pads that he had when he wrestled. Let's bring it back. Todd, thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What was it about those? Why'd you like the volleyball knee pads? Why'd they work?
You know what? I look back, I think it's, it protected my knees. I think it was stylish back then. I mean, you see nowadays, this sport's evolving where, people are wearing one knee pad, no knee pads. They're wearing sleeves now. I think it's a look. I think, for me, that was what a lot of the, Olympic level guys were wearing. I was seeing that, and then just it gave me, a little added padding to my knee, and it was better than those. I forget what they were. Were they Elite Force, or they were those knee pads that they would hurt the back of your knees? And so the volleyball knee pads really opened that up, and it felt a little better as I was wrestling.
What is it about you East Coast guys that find your way to Nebraska?
Oh, I know. Coach Manning's been doing a great job getting a pipeline there from the East Coast there, and and I think. When I went to visit there, with Coach Newman and Coach Kelber and Coach Penrith, and, even going back, Coach Cody. I mean, there were some great coaches that came through there, and, the atmosphere out there, the student athletes, the team, the culture. I mean, it's and they love athletics. I tell everyone, when you're walking down the street in Nebraska, 1 in 3 people will be wearing something red and something Huskers on. I mean, they love their athletics out there, and you felt it from the fans. It was great experience.
I always love a good Brad Penrith story, and I love hearing how good he was in the wrestling room. How good was he when you had to wrestle against him?
Brad was the best. I mean, just as a person, just that, he would always joke with you. He'd shoot you straight, but man, in the room, he was really good. He pushed me, he helped me, he showed me a lot, and I was happy to be around him. When I think back on him, and I reach out to him a lot just to check in on him, but just the stories and the lighthearted that he was to get me ready and prepared. He was one of the best.
Your brother is Kyle Beckerman. He's been in the MLS for 21 seasons. He's 38 years old, but he also wrestled too. What was it about wrestling that you think actually benefited him in his professional soccer?
Well, first off, when you think about 21 season in the MLS, I mean, that is unbelievable, and it's gone by fast. I feel like he just started in the MLS. Like it was yesterday, and he's going down to the Miami Fusion and playing there at the age of 18, and fast forward to 21 years later. And then to read the stat that the MLS has only been around 25 years. I'm at my parents' house now and looking at some of the old pictures of him playing, and it's got guys like David Beckham that was playing in the MLS, and now he's, gone, and Kyle's still playing, and all those. And, but he equates his wrestling to his longevity in the sport. I think his work ethic, his dedication, as a professional, as an older veteran professional, I mean, you have to be, dedicated to your craft and, put the work in, and then put the rehab in when it's there, and just being smart on and off the pitch there. And that's kind of, what he's learned from guys before him, and now he's teaching to the younger guys after. But you talk about 21 seasons in the MLS. I mean, that is impressive. And his quote the other day is, "I'm going to play till the wheels fall off." And that's, he doesn't want to slow down. And he still looks good. I watched him the other day, and he looks great. He looks young as ever, and he's running up and down the field. But I think he always goes back to the sport of wrestling has helped him stay in the MLS this long.
Is it strange for you? Of course, living in wrestling, we don't transcend as often as we would like into the mainstream media, but in looking up your brother, man, when he gets engaged, they show pictures. I mean, he's a big deal, man. Yeah, no, he is. And again, it's something that, it's my little brother. I don't think of it, but when you think of all he's done in the sport, all he's done for soccer, all he's done in the community out in Utah for the last years, he's done so much, and he's left a legacy, and he's still going strong. And I think that's his thing. The biggest thing is,
he wants to see soccer being the biggest sport in the U.S. and in the world, like you're seeing overseas. So, yeah, I mean, it's impressive. And then, it really capped it off making the World Cup team in 2014. And that was something that was special when we all went down to Brazil to see him playing at the highest level.
Can he take Big Brother in wrestling?
No. Even soccer, he can't take me either. I mean, I should be out there as well, going on season 21. But he loves soccer. He loves soccer. He loves wrestling. I mean, I think every year he wants us to get him wrestling shoes for his birthday, and I think he needs a new singlet. And he just has a baby boy. He's turning 2 now, so we'll see where he ends up, either soccer, wrestling, or some other sport. But he's a little beast too.
But does he try to test you?
Oh yeah, all the time.
What,
of course.
What do you hit him with? Like, are you easy on him, or you hit him with throws? Like, what do you do?
Oh man, well, it's funny. He used to think back in the day he was a thrower, and he tried to bear hug me, and and then I would just squeeze him, lift him up, and anything I want.
Well, we're in a interesting time right now. Of course, the Ivy League schools have said they're going to cancel football. What information, what data can you share that you're getting about what's going to happen for wrestling? I know that you probably don't have a ton, but what conversations are you having right now with your administration?
So the Ivy League statement was no athletic competitions in the fall is what it was. So it wasn't, so that just kind of led up to, with basketball and wrestling, being clumped in there for that November, December time frame. I'm very hopeful. I think with our sport, we're being very proactive. I mean, I think we have a lot of, safety protocols in place, skin checks, and, so that's not different for our sport. Adding the new things with checking temperatures and, making sure, everyone's doing the right things off the mat. So I'm very optimistic. I'm hopeful. I think we're trying to be proactive as an organization, with the NCAA and NWCA and all those, kind of discussing how can we go about doing it, even if it's a shortened season, even if it's a January to March. I mean, I think the end goal, is really to have a season and to get it off. So what does that look like if we can do it?
Todd, we've talked at times as a sport about going into April for the championships. I know this is an uncomfortable time right now with missing wrestling, but could this really implement the change we might have been looking for all along?
I think so. I think, it at least gives us the opportunity to try it out without committing to it, right? I mean, doing that one semester sport. And, I think we've been trying to push for it. I think change is always tough, but, with this opportunity in front of us, we get to try it out with no commitment if we want to go to that. But I like the idea of a one semester sport. I like the idea of a January to April time frame. I mean, a 4-month season, it gives guys time, if they do get banged up, to rest and recover, to be there for the end. But I'm all for it, and that's why I hope that, we get this season off so we can see what it's like and try it out.
If you go to the Brown Wrestling website, you'll see that your head coaching position is endowed. That says a lot of good things about where the program is. Do you feel like your program is solid enough that you're going to survive any cuts?
I think, no one's ever solid, right? I think we all got to do our parts to continue to endow positions, endow scholarships, endow, the budget. So we are here for longevity. I mean, when you're seeing some of these sports that do get cut, and you're shocked, I mean, who would have saw some of these schools on the blocks there? And, so I credit our alums to, for coming out of the woodwork and knowing, this is what we need to do to keep the program around in longevity. I mean, we just got a huge gift that we're going to announce shortly that, is going to get us close to, if not fully endowed program. But, again, in these times, everyone across the country needs to be thinking about fundraising, needs to be thinking about endowments, needs to be thinking about how do we keep our sport and our programs around for the next generation that's coming through.
Is that more important then than wins and losses to make sure the program's solid so that we can think about wins and losses in 10, 20 years?
Yes. I mean, when you're thinking about, I started wrestling at 5 years old, fast forward 10 years, 15 years, if there's only, 50 D1 programs, 40 D1 programs, 30 D1 programs, those guys coming up, then what are they looking towards? Women's wrestling starting up, and I think that's only a positive in all aspects. So I think, take the wins, losses out of it. I think we all got to button up our programs and tighten up our belts to start fundraising and endowing and getting your donors on board. The wins will come after that. I mean, that'll keep you around. So if you're not thinking about, we got to be thinking about it in these times. That you're fully endowed, it raise more money.
How do you mesh that, Todd, with wanting to win and making sure the athletes get the best possible experience, but then also fundraising and doing the other things?
Well, you know how it is. I mean, you're wearing so many hats, right? You have so many coaches. Everyone's not just running practices anymore. I mean, it's important that's one of the priorities is fundraising, right? Running a strong practice is a priority. Recruiting is a priority. I mean, all these things. I mean, you wear many hats, but the alternative is a program being gone if you're not doing it. So you got to make it happen. And what I like about it, it gets those alums back. It gets them engaged in the program. I mean, you need those resources. You need that help. Whether they are giving back money or time or energy, I mean, they're a big part of the program and the longevity of the program.
What's your program philosophy and what you tell your athletes and what you want them to gain out of the experience when they've graduated?
Well, these 4 years go quick, right? So, I tell everybody when they're coming in, as we're doing the recruiting, an opportunity to win a national title, become an All-American, and more importantly, leave with a degree that sets you up for the rest of your life. So, going to Brown's going to set them up after that. Now let's get the most out of you on the mat. And there's going to be a lot of sacrifices in there that, you're going to have to do on your end and our part to reach those levels and to reach those goals. But we're going to have fun doing it. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. Right? There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So, enjoying the process as you go through it makes it even more fun as you come out on top at the end.
What do these kids reciprocate to you that they want out of the program? Do they tell you this is my goal and this is what I want to accomplish?
I think each guy's differently. I think each guy sets goals a little differently, especially, their first year up to their senior year. I think it always comes back to the experience. I think when you talk to alums later on, it was the experience they had there and what they did during that time. So we're trying to mesh both of that, right? I mean, we have guys that are, training to reach the highest goals. We have guys that are trying to push our team to the highest goals, So I think it's constantly evolving and we want them to have fun doing it, and I think that's where I've been doing a lot of reading during this quarantine on stuff. And, I think there's a lot of things I'm going to implement. And it goes back to goal setting. I think a lot of times we shoot for the high goals, but, what are these micro goals to get there? And those are the things that make it fun when you can achieve, what you've been working on and you check that off the box. And, the next thing these little baby steps get. Yeah.
I like that word implementation. So you've had a lot of great coaches along the way that have implemented, but how do you implement yet keep your own identity as you navigate your goals?
Great question. I think, I've been around a lot of great coaches. I've worked with a lot of great coaches. I think that's what helped get me here is kind of figure out, what philosophies, I liked and used and meshed that to form my own coach. It's evolved, this is going on season 8 coming up, and I think it's evolved and it's constantly evolving. One thing in this sport and in life, you always got to be learning. You always got to be reading. You always got to be picking, other people's brains because, there's new things, there's new tactics. I mean, heck, as we're going through these times, our recruiting process has changed dramatically, and I've learned a lot through that. And, there's a lot of things that I'm going to take and we're going to take from this COVID, time that we're going to continue with it. I like these we're doing a lot more Zoom calls with guys and doing face-to-face. So I got to be learning. You always got to be growing and, take every situation and, how do you better it and how do you fix it or how do you change it?
With your alumni, you talked about them and their support. What do they articulate that they want out of the program?
They want success. I think their vision is just, and like ours, you should always be getting better, continuous improvement. So, whether it's, from last year to the next year, I mean, continuous improvement in everything we do. and that's not always about wins and losses, but, it's getting better. A first-year guy in the lineup and, going from 3 to 11 to 10 and 5, continuous improvement and, each year getting better and as a program.
Do you like being in the Ivy League?
Love it. Love it. I love Brown, love the location, love the opportunity to, I hate saying it, but, you're selling the Ivy League education. You're selling an education that sets these guys up apart, sets them up for the rest of their lives. We tell recruits it's not a 4-year decision. It's a decision that lasts with you for the next 40, 50 years. And the opportunities are endless with this degree of what it can do. So, I love being on this side because at the end of the day, these 4 years go quick. And then what do you fall back on? And that degree is something that it is special. I think a lot of people talk about it, but, seeing these guys graduate and, all have jobs before they graduate their senior year. I mean, that kind of makes it nice where they can focus on school and wrestling, and a lot of times at other places I've been at, when you're focusing on school, wrestling, and finding a job, that's a lot of stress on the body and on the mind. So, I love that part of it. And I love seeing where they go after they graduate as well. I mean, they're going on to do some very special things, and that's neat to see.
Do you see John Clark from Sacred Heart much?
I do. He still lives in the area. So, I see him from time to time, and, all of a sudden we'll turn around and he's walking down Thayer Street on campus. So he's doing a great job down there, hustling, putting the time and energy in as well. I mean, it's a tough place, and he's turned it around.
So we talked about your brother Kyle testing your wrestling. Does he ever come up and see what he can do against you?
Of course. We were just together, and he gets in his stance. His stance is still pretty low, which is impressive. His shoulder and knee are aligned, so he's protecting his legs. His hand fighting is he didn't pick that up at in 9th grade or younger, so he's a little lacking there. But no, it's fun. It's fun. Even with my dad, I was just wrestling with him the other day in the pool. And we had some fun there, and that's what you do when you get together with family.